And here we are. Hello and welcome to today's Tiger webinar featuring the topic Critical Thinking and Luxury Tourism. I am John Rodabaugh, Executive Director of Alumni Relations for RIT and your moderator for today's session. And we are happy to have you join us. We would like to extend our best wishes to all of our alumni and RIT community members as we continue to weather this environment during the pandemic. Also, this week is, if you're tuning in from the States, this week is Thanksgiving week. So happy holidays for those of you who will be celebrating this week. For all of the alumni joining us today, be sure to connect to the Alumni Association social media channels, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter for all the latest events and programs. And those links will be found in the chat box to your right. The chat box can be opened by clicking on the chat tab at the right of your webinar window. We want to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the presentation tools. All attendees have joined in mute mode. However, your questions can be entered in the chat box at any time throughout the discussion, and we'll monitor those as they come in and make sure we get those over to Ana. We will make every effort to address all of your comments and questions throughout the webinar. If you are joining using broadcast audio. If you wish to dial in by phone, dial-in information is provided in the chat box. Live captioning is also being provided, and you can find the link to access that in the chat box as well. This webinar will be recorded and made available complete with captions in approximately 1 week following today's event. All participants will receive an email with the link to the recording. If you have any technical questions, again, please feel free to type those into the chat box as well, and we'll do our best to get the appropriate answers for you. Our webinar today is being brought to you by the Applied Critical Thinking Initiative at RIT, led by RIT faculty member Dr. Jen Schneider. The Applied Critical Thinking Initiative focuses on expectations of our global society. Simply knowing is not enough. Leaders must think critically to assess and strategize within complex interconnected systems and processes, continually adapting to rapidly evolving technology, aesthetics, and social environments, and manifest new ideas both individually and collectively. Details on the RIT's Applied Critical Thinking Initiative can be found at the link in the chat. What better example of critical thinking challenge than the topic of today's webinar? Luxury tourism and everything that's going on in that area. Really fascinating area for us to talk about today, and we're so pleased to welcome Ana Roncevic, who graduated from RIT Croatia in Dubrovnik in 2002 with a degree in Hotel and Resort Management. Ana is the Managing Director of Sea Soul Yachting. After graduating from RIT Croatia, she spent 14 years working as a broker in international commodity trade before choosing to pursue another career path. In 2016, she founded Sea Soul Yachting, a small boutique-style yacht charter company specialized for Adriatic yachting experiences. Being enthusiastic about networking and collaboration among like-minded professionals, she took on the role of Managing Director of the Luxury Network's Adria office. Ana is looking to grow the network in her region of the world, while currently working on another project to be launched at the end of this year. We're very excited to have Ana with us today. So Ana, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you for having me, for inviting me. I would like to thank RIT. I'm really excited to do something for RIT and to be with RIT community. And thank you to all the viewers who joined us and who are willing to spend this 45 minutes or so talking about luxury tourism. So let's just move on. John did already short introduction of me. I don't think it is much necessary to lose time on this. What I wanted to point out is that immediately after graduating from RIT in 2002, I started working in a non-hospitality field. And it was 14 years, as John said, before I decided to, let's say, move back to the hospitality track and get involved in the luxury tourism sector, in particular of my country. So let us go on. I didn't want to make a presentation because I don't want it to be like too formal, to be like more casual and easygoing. But I put a little, let's say, things that I want us to think about, and it's also easier for me to follow up. And I think, and I hope it will give you some food for thought after this presentation. So this pandemic caused a lot of disruption in the world in general, a lot of career instabilities, a lot of business losses. But when I think about it, there is a silver lining in this pandemic, and that is for sure that we have changed our mindsets. We as people, and also my clients and your clients, they re-evaluated their priorities, and that will influence the decision making of them, how to go on and what to invest in, what to spend money on. And for sure we are going in the direction of less, I would say, less luxury in a bling style, but more luxury in an emotional and more valuable way for us as humans. So what do we have now? We have these customers that have completely reset their mindset. And I think that we as businesses need also to reset our businesses, to refocus, to readjust, and just to restart having all these new parameters in mind, and having this new changed behavior of our customers in mind, because it actually in the end influences how we approach them and what we offer them as our services, especially in the luxury market sector. So I would say there were already some pre-COVID trends that were present before the pandemic, and they were mostly all accelerated by the pandemic. So let's just shortly mention each one of them. Digitalization. We are living in a highly digital world, technology being a part of their lives every day. Even the companies that have really, let's say, resisted the trend and thought they are luxurious enough that they need to have person-to-person experience and they don't need to be present online, this pandemic changed their opinion. From the luxury, let's say, fashion sector, there is an example of watch producer Patek Philippe. You know, they were resisting online world for many years, and during the pandemic, it was the first time when they actually allowed their dealers to move online. And it was not surprised as a move, because they just need a way to reach their customers. As it regards the hospitality industry, a lot of hotels shot videos, sending out to the world. You know, they were trying to connect in one way with their customers. A lot of tourist boards around the world made fantastic promotional videos, you know, sending messages of hope, of connectedness, that we will all be together again after this is over. And quite of them were quite emotional, and it was really nice to look them. So digitalization definitely is a trend in the world, in the hospitality industry as well. Experiential travel. I myself, as a let's say high-end service provider, and everybody involved in the luxury sector, we are always going for some outstanding experience, to offering something that not a lot of others are offering, trying to give valuable experience to our clients. In general, experiential luxury, when we think about high-end hotels, resorts, cruises, restaurants, these were one of the fastest growing components of the luxury sector. And they have all suffered a lot in this pandemic. But I am sure, especially the people with high purchasing power, they will come back. Even during the pandemic, that when I thought that I will have no business at all, I had clients coming this summer to Croatia. You know, maybe they are they could afford to fly with a private jet to go seamlessly, let's say, on board, and just to isolate themselves from the world while still enjoying the Adriatic Sea and having a wonderful vacation. I would say the people who can afford it, there might even be a need to make up for all they missed during the pandemic. If their incomes were not so affected with the pandemic, they will look for a way to go out and to give them pleasure of travel again. So we may experience, I'm highly optimistic here, we may experience something like revenge travel. You know, everybody was talking about revenge spending in Asia once China rebounded back quickly after the lockdown. You know, everybody went out and spent, I don't know what amount of money of buying things, just missing for all those days they were locked in the house and not being able to do it. So let's say optimistic and positive like that. Wellness. Wellness momentum and wellness movement has been going on for a while, and I think this trend will accelerate again after the pandemic. It may be that the approach will be a bit different. I think it will go more towards the holistic approach. So it's not only our physical body that we will take care of, it's our mental wellness, it's our spiritual being, and it is something to take care about for our clients in the future as well. And sustainability. There were brands and hotels and resorts that were already taking care of the environment in everything they do and having sustainability in mind. And actually, when I think about it, especially after this pandemic, all hotel and resorts need to have sustainability at the core of their vision. We are maybe seeing a short temporary shift of focus from world health to personal health, because we are in a pandemic, I mean, all around the world. But I think when we saw the improvements of the nature while being in the lockdown, I think it will make us think twice about throwing something or recycling something. It just, our mindsets are a bit different. So in the future, I just wanted to talk about these new generations and a generational shift that we will surely experience. In the terms of generational shift, I mean exactly generational shift. Not it's not depending on the culture, on the religion. There are some new kids coming on the scene, and those are millennials and Gen Zers. As per Boston Consulting Group report, they will comprise around 60% of luxury market. That also includes the expenditure on luxury travel. They are highly digital. For Gen Zers, you know, there are 2.46 billion globally. They have the largest buying power of any segment of the population. And what is really important here is that this generation is really extremely focused on social change, and they are ready to make an impact. For us as a service providers, it's important to think about them because they are more demanding and they know exactly what they want. They are less brand loyal as compared to previous generations. So we really need to think of a way how to connect with these generations. So how can we, hospitality companies, build lasting relationships with them, and not only with them who are coming, but with our existing customers, considering that they changed the way they look at things and they changed their priorities. So highly intuitive, personalized service. For me and for my job, this was always of utmost importance. And it may come strange to you, but I, as a company, never send out newsletters. I don't, it's okay if you want to scale up and if you want to sell the destination and you have general newsletters going on, that's completely fine. But what I do with my clients, first of all, I always try to meet them in person. So either when they are embarking the yacht or disembarking the yacht, that personal connection for me, it's very important. It's important for me to hear about what they expect or afterwards. what they get, what they didn't like, what they liked, because all that input is important to me to improve. So what I did during the pandemic, even though it is time consuming, I sat down, I wrote emails. I met them, I met their family members. So they were all around the world. So I asked them, how are you doing? How the things are going? And they really appreciated that. So when I mentioned digitalization, me personally, I'm really not a fan of social media. I have to admit that. And being completely honest with you, that also reflects my company. I'm not that regular on social media, and I know I have to do it in today's world, but what saves me and it's keeping me in the business is exactly this personalized services and the good relationship I have with my clients. So I have so many word of mouth recommendations. I have agents recommending me to other agents. And, even in the year like this, in a pandemic year, I had quite a lot of charters, and it got me busy during the summer. So I'm really grateful for that. Being authentic. Well, that is kind of logical, authenticity is what we are all looking for. And sometimes maybe when we are working, we are forgetting about why are we doing it, and what is what we are and what we want to do. And, there is a new research of younger affluent travelers, and they all choose to go more to boutique hotels and to heritage hotels instead of large hotel chains. And that was mainly because of their lack of authenticity. When they come here, they want to experience the place, they want to hear the story, they want to be a part of the history. It just values more to them. Also, staying relevant to evolving expectations, especially now as they are switching, offering transformative and meaningful experiences. People will now want to come and they want to go back home completely different, feeling that they did something good for themselves, that they've grown as a person, that they learned something. It has to be more than just being somewhere on a vacation. As wellness is extremely important in our everyday lives, I think that elements of wellness need to be incorporated in the experiences in the future, for sure. Purpose-driven brands will be followed. So when we come back to these younger generations that are not that brand loyal, these generations will for sure follow the brands that are purpose-driven, that have purpose higher than just doing the business, and that will be recognized. So we all need to be more socially aware. We need to, as I said, take care about sustainability. We have to think about carbon footprint reduction. Recently, I heard a story of one hotel in Saudi Arabia. I just loved it. Saudi Arabia is the world's largest producer of oil. And they have all these different initiatives to reduce the carbon footprint. But what I liked in particular is one hotel having bracelets for their guests. So it's again technology coming in to help the hospitality industry. So they can track how much they saved the planet, or how much they reduced the carbon footprint while them as a persons while they were staying there. I just love that idea. Collaborating with local community, local sourcing. We are now moving away from a hyper globalization. I think we are now, at least in the short term, are oriented more towards localization. And it becomes extremely important that we source all the things locally. So either from materials we use or food that we use, they have to come from local sources. 0 kilometer food. This is Italian concept. I think they were the first ones, at least to publicly call it 0 kilometer food. I can give you an example from my charter guests. Well, majority of them are high net worth individuals. They are used to fine dining experiences. They are used to traveling all around the world and all this white glove service, etc. And you know, when you bring them to the restaurant on the top of an island where they feel as if they came to people's homes, they cooked in front of them, they went to their garden to pick the salad and to wash it and to give it to each to them. Oh my God, that is just the highlight of their trip. So experiences like this are memorable, and we need to go more in this direction. So our business needs to be transparent. It needs to be ethical, of course. It needs to focus on emotional value of luxury. Innovations, again, that are purposely driven, and philanthropy. I've been following the news and reports, especially from the luxury industry during the pandemic. And, you know, and from all that information I've read, I think the details that I remember the most about are the philanthropic acts. It is just something that appreciates us as a human, that we can help each other. You know, when Four Seasons was the first philanthropic hotel, I can say, that offered free stays to the health workers, and then the others followed suit, either from producing the sanitary equipment, etc. And this, I'm sure this will be remembered, especially with these generations, as I said, that are taking care and going after the companies that are giving back to the world and to the community. So the luxury, you know, luxury is one of the words that is being overused, I would say. So, but the definition of luxury, according to me, is changing. And this pandemic also caused that, let's say, a shift of focus. When we mentioned digitalization, and you know, there were a lot of companies were doing like virtual reality shows where you could, you know, put the VR equipment and go to safari in Africa, or I don't know, from your couch. And I mean, can that be the same as if you were actually there? In the hospitality industry in particular, which is highly people-oriented, it's just not possible. I mean, the main takeaway here would be that human element cannot be replaced by technology. The beneficial thing out of that, I would say, is the people actually wanted to go there in person, so they will have more knowledge and they would actually enjoy more in the process once they come to the place that they have seen online. But hospitality industry and traveling, it's a physical, it's a sensory experience. You have to be there, you have to feel, you have to smell, you have to hear, you have to engage all your senses to have a complete, like really, really nice experience. And that is why I think technology cannot replace it completely, but let's say can go hand in hand with travel. So what I want to point and stress out here is the power of those intangibles. So the experiences I mentioned, the memories we create, the feelings that we experience while we are somewhere, the sensation, the human touch, the time that we have for travel, and clean air. Oh my God, people, you know, so many people are living in a megalopolis. You know, I've had so many clients saying to me, "Oh, Ana, we finally saw the stars." You know, when they see the stars in Croatia during the night from their yachts, you know, they cannot believe it. I mean, it's unbelievable, because we are so lucky to have such a crystal clear sea and a clean air. And luxury is something that is scarce. So scarcity mindset that evokes the luxury feeling. So even though before maybe that was more oriented towards the material possessions, I really think that we will now see people enjoying in the things that are scarce now, which are actually the clean air and the clean sea, and we have to take advantage of that. So I just love this term, luxury essentialism. I just love it. It's just you know, it's saying exactly that. So it's not about what we own anymore. It's about what we experience. It's the meaningful social connections we make. It's improving our health. You know, now we are health is more important, but now we have that consciousness that we have to act preventatively. We have to think, let's say, we have to be 2 steps in advance in order to feel good all the time and to make our immune system stronger to resist better any viruses or who knows what waits us in the future. Self-growth is, I would say, also extremely important. We all want to grow professionally and grow as persons, and our mindsets are changed toward that as well. And, you know, elevated essentialism versus existentialism. I read this somewhere, you know, there is Dr. Martina Olberova. I think she has a company called Luxury Renaissance. I just love what she's saying. And basically, what is the elevated essentialism? It is for us to be alive, to be soulful, to experience, to properly live lives, versus just exist. You know, I love this idea. There is one story that I want to share with you regarding this luxury redefined. This summer I was part of online event called Luxury Week, and the moderator at the end asked me this question. She asked me, Anna, what is luxury for you? You know what? I had a busy season, as I said, and I escaped for a couple of days from the city to the island of Hvar, where my family has a house. And I participated to that event from there. And, you know, the answer came to me so easily. You know, I told them, I woke up before 7 a.m. this morning. I went to the beach. I was completely by myself. I took a swim. I was enjoying the sun, you know, cherishing the moment mindfully. Only sounds I could hear is the sound of the sea and then a few seagulls passing over. You know, for me at that moment, if somebody would have offered me, I mean, I don't know what, I would not exchange it for nothing. For me, that was like pure, true luxury, you know, being away for a while, having tranquil moments for myself, being with my family afterwards. That is just priceless. And I think this pandemic is changing that people in general, because if you would have asked the same question to different people around the world at that same time when they were experiencing who knows what during the pandemic, I am almost 100% sure that I mean, the majority of them would definitely not say something material as a luxury. And me personally, I find it satisfactory, and I like the way in direction in which we are going, and it makes me very very happy, because it anyway leads us to more meaningful lives. So as I think about my clients, you know, I've had one client from the US coming to Croatia for the first time, and he came here for 5 days only. And, you know, I was so excited when somebody is saying to me that they are coming for the first time. Oh my God, I want to show them everything, you know, and it's difficult to do it on a yacht in 5 days. You know, you just have to pick few places to make it enjoyable for them as well. And I got so excited, you know, and then they came on board, and the client was one popular, famous NBA player. And you know what? For 5 days, they were docked, anchored in front of the city of Hvar. All they wanted to do is to go out, have a party on shore, and to go on board, have a party, and vice versa, for 5 days straight. You know what? There are clients, it's part of their lifestyle. So I'm sure we will have clients like that again. But you know, what did they see out of my country? Nothing. What they can say about Croatia? nothing. So to me, as a service provider, that is not a satisfactory charter experience, even though they were very happy with it, but myself, I wasn't. And I also want to mention there is another Russian couple I had. The husband, for example, oh my God, he loved Croatia. And he said, I want to come here every year. I just love your nature. I love to get away from Moscow and to relax, to be here. But he told me, you know what, Anna, my wife, she doesn't want to come here anymore. And I asked him why. And he said, well, you know, she has all these diamonds and she just doesn't have place to show it off here. You know, she wants to go to Cannes, to Saint-Tropez, to Côte d'Azur. She wants to be there and she wants to go to the casinos. And, you know, you have to respect them. It's their own lives and they are living it. But I think that even though they have different lifestyles, I think we are still shifting in this direction of luxury redefined, as I said, and that even them are going to make more conscious choices of what to do in a country, or at least I am optimistic always until the end. I think that's about everything I wanted to say. These are my contact details. So for anyone who wants to connect with me, please feel free to. I would love to connect. So, John, I'm ready for some questions, if there are any. I didn't want to go into too much detail. I just wanted to, let's say, some short view on what I feel it's coming our way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the story at the end too. I could almost feel myself on a beach by myself, which I think all of us would be really excited about right now. We did it. We have a couple questions that came in, and so we'll start with this one. One of our attendees asked, said they'd like to hear your opinion on how you think local immersion and kind of the human touch factor will be changed post COVID-19 travel. Is the pandemic something that will leave a big impact on those personal relationships? And being a local while traveling, is that going to be changing in the future?
Well, I think the people will definitely be cautious about human touch in terms of going into spaces with a lot of people. So in terms of that, they will prefer, I think, isolated places, you know, being connected to nature, you know, bit apart from that. But what I meant in human touch and localization, I think they would all love to know that the food they got on their table is local. It's the things are sourced locally, and they will feel as being a part of that community only by enjoying that meal on the table. You know, so I think that is where the localization comes in the first place. The human touch as it regards, for example, the wellness industry and, I don't know, maybe wellness treatments or massages, or, you know, I hear a lot of people worrying about that because people are not feeling safe to go to have a massage somewhere if they feel they can catch a virus or something. I think people will be cautious about it for a while. But it all depends on what awaits us in the future. And, you know, if the vaccine gets out, if people have that peace of mind when traveling, you know, that depends on the situation.
And I think following up on that, have you seen, you know, has there been a big effect on supply chains, even locally with some of your local food vendors and things like that? Has getting food and supplies been harder or easier during this pandemic from your local sources?
Well, you know, there were a lot of little communities being formed for locally grown produce here, you know, local grown vegetables. People were rather buying from a domestic producer than buying in the supermarket. So I think that actually benefited the local producers. I want to mention here, since I'm working in a yacht charter industry, you know, my first idea was they need to have a homemade Adriatic experience. You know, I wanted them to come on the yacht and to have nothing but Croatian wines, nothing but Croatian cheeses, you know, our specialties, because I wanted to share what my country has to offer. And that was quite challenging. I have to be completely honest with you, because these clients are used to ordering wines from France. You know, they want caviar, they want, you know, so we usually outsource these things. I'm always, you know, trying not to resist an offering and maybe suggesting something, because some of them never tried it. They don't know that we have good wines, but it is a challenge, especially in the luxury sector, I would say, because those people are used and they already have their preferences regarding some brands and, what they want to know, because that means luxury to them. So let's see how it goes.
Yes, never a bad thing to try the local wine, I would say. I know we've been lucky enough to have some Croatian wines over here in Rochester from, the connection between RIT Croatia and Henrietta, and that is wonderful. A couple other comments and questions that we were kind of talking about on the side. You talked a little bit about sort of pent-up travel demand, and you talked a little bit about pent-up demand for travel. So everybody's been cooped up for, the better part of a year here. And one of the things we were talking about on the side was, is this an opportunity, or do you see an opportunity for folks who might not, under normal circumstances, be able to necessarily afford a luxury style vacation? Is this the time? Are you going to see pent up demand even from folks who normally wouldn't travel luxury, be able to actually maybe get into that market now that they've had a year of basically not spending any money on vacations, or maybe those what they've saved has been a little bit more than usual?
Well, that is a really good question. Thank you. You know what? It's hard sometimes, even when you advertise something luxurious, like luxury travel. In the times like this, it's a bit off road. So I think people whose incomes were affected by the pandemic will definitely shift their consumption. They will maybe not be willing to spend what they saved on travel. And especially the long distance travel, that it will take some time to recover completely. So people will probably choose to stay closer to homes for starters. But when we are talking about people with high purchasing power, with high net worth individuals, they can afford it. And, I've heard from some US agents, when your elections were done, that they had such a demand. Suddenly people wanted to go out, people who could afford it. Now we can travel, we want to travel. So there is definitely a demand from that particular market.
That's great. One of the other things we were chatting about a little bit was a little bit about what you talked about with Gen Z, and that's a surprise to me. I didn't think that would be really a target market for the high-end luxury travel industry, but that's really great information. Are you finding that generation is really tough to connect with, or is it are you finding new ways to do that, or is it just high touch, high contact kind of stuff that works?
That's a good question. In order to connect to those customers, let's say first connection will probably be digital because they are digital. Why I particularly talked about Generation Z, even for me, some of those findings were quite astonishing. But when you think about it, those are the new generations coming. So even though maybe they do not have that purchasing power at the moment, they are surely coming and entering the scene. Before you had millennials, they were just looking for Instagrammable moments, to take a picture and to send to the world. But the research is showing, for example, they are getting married later. So let's say they have a lot of income. They're not spending it on the family. They are spending it on themselves. They are spending it on their personal travel experiences. They care a lot about the wellness. They will pay more to have something more valuable for them. They are conscious about these things. So they are the generations to follow. Maybe not at this moment, but in the long run, they are entering the scene. So I was mentioning them just maybe to. I'm thinking to put my attention towards that direction.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about sort of those long-term or client relationships over the course of what could be, 10, 20, 30 years for folks who are, in their 20s and early 30s. Yeah, that's really interesting. A really interesting take. Another question that had come in that we talked a little bit about on another webinar that we did with with Inez earlier this month was the cost increases. So were you seeing a lot of cost increases, whether it was PPE, that, you know, personal protective equipment that you had to buy, or extra steps you had to take from, you know, sanitation and things like that? Did you see a big jump in cost?
Well, it certainly is, let's say, an additional cost, but that is something that you just don't think about it as cost, because you have to do it in order everything goes smoothly. You just have to do it, you know, and then in the end you have clients that everything went well and they stayed healthy, you know, and they appreciated it. So it came, I mean, it's a new normal, you know, the hotels. And I can imagine now being hotel lobbies or something being completely redesigned, maybe, you know, to have more open spaces, the surfaces that are easier to clean. And this will definitely change a bit. As regards the yacht chartering, you know, my clients usually, okay, if they landed, you know, you send the transfer for them, you bring them in front of the yacht, they embark, you know, it's really seamless. There is not a lot of movement, not a lot of people at one place at a time. It's easier to do it in my industry than, for example, in hotels, especially big hotels. But this cost is just something we have to take on, because it's for our own benefit and for the benefit of our customers.
Changing gears just a little bit, let's talk about you for a second. So you made a bit of a career shift, it sounds like, and you know, and since you've graduated from RIT Croatia. Is there anything, you know, we've got it's such a great program in Croatia, and we've, you know, I think there's some students that are even on this call today. But what advice would you have for them? You know, if you're a student coming out and say you're graduating here in 2021 and looking to get into, you know, say, you know, the luxury tourism industry, what would your advice be?
Well, to take most of their time when they are studying, to connect with their peers, you know, to grow together, and to be realistic, because even after they graduate, you know, it's never-ending learning. It's throughout what you do. I mean, even my career shift, when I think about it, I've never regretted the decision that I went away from corporate life and started something of my own. I never regretted it. But the experience I gained in that other industry, it's also extremely valuable. You know, you can apply everything to what you do today. So every industry has learning points for you. And you know, just keep following your dreams and your passion. And now, let's say the ones that are graduating now are maybe now on this shift of the it's difficult to say world, but let's say something that we don't know how it's going to go in the future. So they have to be maybe more cautious about it. But I think these new generations already have this in themselves. You know, these younger generations have this social responsibility, I think, in their DNA, you know, and environmental concerns. So I think they will be the builders in the future of this sustainability movement. And maybe they will know better than we do, you know, because we have different ideas. So I'm sure we can learn a lot from them as well. So I wish good luck to all of them. And RIT is a great place. You know, I think I was a second generation when they came to Croatia, and I mean, it was the only college at the time that is being an American. I mean, foreign. We had foreign professors and having all the books in English. So that was already a huge competitive advantage over other programs. And just this mindset, something different, you know, about networking, teamwork, you know, that is really stressed out in RIT, I think, and that is something that we can learn from.
Definitely. Another question that came in while we were chatting here. Do you think Croatia will use the pandemic opportunity to shift away from mass tourism, i.e., like cruise ships that are stopping there, in a real way?
Oh, I would love that to be the case. I would love that to be the case. You know what? I mean, you know that we as individuals cannot make major shifts. Well, it's difficult to say because a national strategy has to be in place. That is something that our government and our National Tourist Board has to have in mind. You know, a new strategy for tourism. I would definitely go for a premium tourism. You know, for good, for quality guests. You know, we have so much to offer, and I think that clientele could appreciate what we can offer. So if you ask me, I would definitely choose a strategy on a national level, and I have a lot of my colleagues that are of the same opinion as I am. You know, but we need a backup from the government in that, because they are the ones deciding how many cruise ships they want to let in or not, you know, and our marketing activities on a national level should be oriented towards those clients. It should be differently done from scratch, even maybe a complete revolution is necessary to do it. I think we can do it, but we have to all act together in that direction.
Yeah, great answer. I know that's, you know, I hear a lot of chatter about that from many of our alumni in Croatia about, yeah, the kind of the difference there between mass tourism and higher ed luxury tourism. So one last question for you. This is one that we were chatting about on the side. I think that this one, this made me laugh a little bit, but a bit more of an informal question. As somebody who's an industry insider, right? Somebody in the luxury tourism industry, where do you go on vacation?
A good question. But during our summer, I don't go anywhere. I have a lot of work to do. And honestly, even in between work, the place where we live, you know, as I said, the island of Hvar, where my family has a house, I mean, I would not replace that with anything in the summertime because it's so perfect here already. As I am getting older, I am getting more colder, I would say. So before we were going to winter vacations, you know, or skiing or something in the mountains. But recently, for the few last years, we chose summers in our winters. So we would go for either Thailand or some destinations that to have, let's say, a proper summer without work somewhere else. So thank you for that for that question.
we were all dying to know on the side. We're like, you know, where Ana goes on vacation.
But you know, actually, John, even this year now, when we are, I mean, stuck in Croatia, I think a lot of us are actually taking the time to explore our own country.
Yeah.
And it is something beneficial to the economy, of course, but sometimes you take what you have around you for granted. And I hear a lot of my friends, you know, we've been there after I don't know how many years, you know, and I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful for our country, and we will appreciate it more, you know, and even be better professionals in what we do, knowing what we can offer and what we can improve. And now thinking about all these mindset changes that we are experiencing with our clients, you know, I'm also thinking for my own country and for my own company and the direction I want to go to. I have an idea for a couple of years already, and I think this pandemic also accelerated it, because you know, you just want to make something more than just a business, something to be more valuable. And I would say, you know, I tried to put the sails in a different direction, you know, to change the course of sailing boat for a bit, but you know, I need that wind in my sail, you know, and that wind is something not I cannot influence it, of course. So again, our bureaucracy and the legal procedures in Croatia are a bit difficult, but I hope to get there. So I will follow up with you if I manage to do it.
Sounds like part 2 of our webinar.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, we're just about out of time here, so I wanted to give you a chance, Ana, if you want to talk. You know, where you had mentioned it a little bit before, but website? Where can we find you? Where, what can we do to help in the RIT network here?
Well, they can just catch me on LinkedIn. I think, as I said, the social media is not really my thing, but I am active on LinkedIn. It's a professional network, so please feel free to connect with me. Let's exchange ideas. Let's create something together, grow together, as I said, and help each other. I'm sure I can learn from you as much, and keep evolving together to be better professionals.
Great. And I'm just going to check and see. We had a couple of other, while we were talking, we had a couple other quick questions that came in. Let me just make sure I got everything here. Okay, I cherry picked this one from all the remaining questions here, but it said, thank you, Ana, for wonderful insight. Focusing on yacht charter, how would you say the pandemic affected the behavior of your clients, considering their big spending habits? Were they reluctant to book or ready to indulge into revenge travel that they can afford more than ever? I thought that was an interesting question. It might be a nice one to kind of go on.
Yeah, this is very interesting questions. Those ones mentioned, let's say revenge travel, are the ones that came this summer, despite the pandemic. The ones that were far away on other continents, of course, they could not come. But the ones that really wanted to come, despite the circumstances, I think are really revenge travelers, because they didn't want to miss their summer. What I noticed in their behavior, I cannot say that I saw a great shift, because throughout the years, I'm already seeing a shift, for example, in what they prefer to consume while they're on board. They are going they are taking care of their diets a lot. Now you have vegan menu, you have, vegetarian, for a couple of years that's been present in the yachting industry as well. So I think there's not a lot of change in that particular behavior. But I can say that they were really all appreciative of the fact that they could actually travel and be here, because we had a lot of postponements. The people who booked their weeks already, they postponed it to next summer. And the ones who came were all last minute charters, are the ones who really wanted to, they could afford to go and charter a private jet, go to Croatia, go for 7 or 14 days, and go back home. So those are the ones that saved me, that kept me in the business this summer. Those revenge travelers.
That's great. Well, we have let's take one more here. I thought this question was pretty good, and because it's from our sponsor today, the Applied Critical Thinking folks who helped us develop this series. We had a question around. Just curious on your thoughts on how hospitality can help communities recover from economic and social losses during the pandemic.
Yes, that's a good question.
That's a big question.
That is really a big question. Well, the thing I said about localization and local sourcing. So for sure, if hotels before were ordering from I don't know where, if you start, let's say, from simple toiletries in the bathrooms. So why would not they help local communities and put, I don't know, homemade lavender soaps or homemade cosmetics? They are helping the local community. Sourcing of local food, as I said, that is an extreme importance for the future travelers as well. But let's say it all stays in the local economy. It goes around. So that is certainly a way to help them, to keep the economy going. Maybe involve more people in the experiences. People are now going after the craftsmanship. They want to learn how something is produced. They want to be a part of it. They want to get their hands in that. So maybe involve local communities. In Croatia, you have courses like how to make gnocchi or pljukans, the homemade pasta, or how to make something from your hands, something that is culturally Croatian, and the people can be part of that experience. You have people that are coming to Croatia only if they want to pick the olives in the season of olive picking. They want to be a part of that. They want to see how the olive oil is processed. So that all those kind of experiences should be incorporated into hospitality services. So restaurants, hotels, everybody can engage local communities to help each other, actually. And I think that's the way we have to go. That's the direction in which we have to go.
And speaking of economic impact, there was one other question that came in while you were talking. They keep flowing in here. Rick had asked, how's the communication been from the government? From the, you know, has that, you know, or other sources of, you know, has that communication flowed pretty freely?
Well, you know what? There was our government, quite honestly, was not really helpful to the tourists coming to Croatia, and I think the local companies did the majority of the job. You know, they were informing the potential tourists to come to Croatia this summer. So our government did not do a good job, about that, and it was really criticized widely, because you go to National Tourism Board, you go to the main website, and you have no information of what is happening in Croatia and how many cases or which areas are safe, you know. But the local companies in the tourism sector did a good job of sending the information out, and you know, I think thanks to them, we also got a lot of tourists during the summer. You know, I know Croatia. It's we can be grateful for our location because we are reachable by car. You know, we don't depend that much on airplane travel. So we did have quite a lot of European guests this summer. But you know, each one of them wanted to learn when and if and how the situation is going before they came. So there is, I would say, there is a place for improvement for our government, for sure.
Certainly something I think
we can talk about that for hours.
Right, that could be a total another webinar. I can
put my colleagues here and talk about the communication between the private sector and the government and how much they are not doing for us. There is a huge space for improvement there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that's may be true on both sides of the border here.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that wraps up all of our questions, and we're almost here to 1 o'clock here in the States. I want to thank you, Ana, for all of your insights and information. Really great comments on the side here about, you know, how people have enjoyed hearing about you, about your business, and about your insights in the industry. So I will say for our audience members, additional questions can be emailed to us at ratalum@rit.edu, and we can always forward those over to Ana. All audience members will receive an email from us in about a week with a link to today's webinar. And again, that will be captioned for those who are in our audience that need that. And there are also a number of other virtual events and webinars coming up. You can find those at rit.edu/alumni. Click on events and see what else we have coming up. This has just been a pleasure. What a great webinar. Really appreciate the audience and our presenter, Ana, for spending the hour with us today. With that, thanks again. Go Tigers, stay safe, and we will see everybody hopefully on our next webinar.
Yeah. Thank you, John, and have a happy holidays, you in the US.
Oh, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.